just want to spend some time talking about emotions. And I want, during this session, to just share 3 personal stories. Things that happened to me years ago. When I was about 15 years old, I was in high school, and my geography teacher at the time told me to give a vote of thanks to a speaker we had come in today. Now, let me just give you some background. I grew up as a very shy individual. I was what you would call a very amiable personality. But this, for a teacher to ask you to do a vote of thanks, the quietest boy in the class, well, you know what creeping poison is? Have you ever felt that? You sitting down on this side and your teacher starts from this side, what's 5 by 2? And you know your turn coming, but your heart just beating. You know how that feels? Could I control that? Well, over the years I learned to control it. But that is an emotion. So what is emotion? Well, I have 2 dictionary definitions here. A natural instinctive state of mind deriving from one's circumstances, mood, or relationships with others. You know, all of us have difficult people in our lives. Difficult, and I put that in inverted commas because there's no such thing as difficult. There's just inflexible communicators. It took me a while to buy into that idea. Something that causes a reaction. Well, in this case, it causes a reaction. Your emotions control your thinking, your behavior, and your actions. And there are physiological changes that go along with that. Your heart beats faster, you breathe heavier, all kinds of other things, you start sweating. Well, in order to control that, what we are actually talking about is emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is controlling yourself, controlling your emotions, and that of others in terms of social awareness and relationship management. But how is it different from IQ? You know, IQ is an intelligence test. It is what our schools measure. Have any of you learned about emotional intelligence in school? They don't teach that today. That is one of the reasons why we have a lot of the problems that we have. Because children don't know how to control themselves. It is a problem that is not only isolated to Trinidad, but it's all over the world. It happens everywhere. So, what I needed in this case was a bit of emotional intelligence. But, so emotional intelligence is really an ability to understand the needs and feelings of oneself and other people. Doesn't matter what kind of reaction that is coming at you. The person we have to regulate is us. They need us, to be there. That is what I am going to get into in a little while. And then we have to respond in an appropriate way. Now, this is not a scientific course by any means, but I just want to get scientific maybe for just 5 minutes. And I'm going to be very basic with this. This is something called the triune model of the brain. When our brain first starts developing, we develop a reptilian complex. This is the part of your brain that is responsible for fight or flight response. If somebody bad drives you on the road, you just react. You don't think about it. You don't think about what you're doing. This is something that happens to all of us. The limbic region is responsible for emotion. And the neocortex is responsible for logic and reasoning, something that we're supposed to have. Some people have it more than others. Now what happens? What happens is when we go into an emotional hijack. What is an emotional hijack? Is when we lose control. Have you ever dealt with somebody who lost control? Well, we all have children, so yes. We have dealt with somebody who lost control. I lost control one day. I was playing Monopoly. I was 12 years old. And I landed on Boardwalk, and the person who I was playing against had 2 hotels on it. You know how much money I had to pay out? You know what happened to the board? I went, tired! No more Monopoly. So when our children don't listen to us, when they misbehave, we go into our own emotional hijack. And what happens? What happens is that limbic region overtakes the neocortex. It overtakes it temporarily. And this is seen on MRI scans where the limbic region will light up. And the neocortex actually shrinks. So it is something, in that moment, we cannot think straight. We can't think straight. And we have all had those situations where you have said to yourself, I wasn't thinking straight. Have you ever gotten an angry email from somebody and all of a sudden you want to write them back in all caps and red? That is what happens in an emotional hijack. But you know when that happens? Go for a walk, have a coffee, a tea, or water if you don't drink coffee and tea. It's important that we take that time for our neocortex to come back to normal. But this is what happens. We have to give ourselves the time. Who in this has to regulate their emotion? Parents. Children are not skilled yet. But we have to show them how to do that. Remember that they copy us. But what is an emotion? It comes in waves. It comes in a wave, and you have to get off at some point. The more you learn to control it, better for you. The more you learn to control it, the better for your children. But we have to get off. You could decide where that point is. Why do we have to control it? Because our nervous system is connected. Is connected to our children. What do I mean? We have to be aware of what we pass on to our kids. When you are stressed, your child is stressed. Our children sense everything that you feel. Even those things you are trying to hide that you feel. You will be driving down the road and your child will be in the car seat in the back, and any little thing you react to, they are seeing. They are seeing that. It is important for us to learn how to manage that. If I am angry, afraid, my child will feel it too. They read all of our micro and macro expressions. They are looking for cues from us. They copy us through their mirror neurons. If a baby looks at you and you smile at the baby tends to smile back. If you wave to somebody, even if it's a total stranger, you will wave. You don't know who you're waving to, but you're waving because we want friends. It is nature. We like attachment. We love attachment. But what is that? Our children form their emotional landscape through us. Depends on how strong we are. That is how strong they will be. But emotions are contagious. And the reason I have this drawing here is because my daughter drew this when she was 4. She said, and she gave it to me, she said, Daddy, this is you when you get upset. At first I looked at it and I said, well, everybody was laughing, but then everybody stopped. I looked at this picture and I said, wow, that is something I need to think about. But when we had our second child, my son is now 3, I noticed that exactly the way I was talking to my daughter is exactly the way she was talking to her younger brother. Where did she get that from? I don't know. So this is something I had to be conscious about. It's very important that I was conscious about it, and these are the things I try to change. My son now cannot handle people raising their voice at him. He cannot handle it. So why are you talking like that? So you see, everything is connected. Our nervous system is connected. Why do you need to be aware? Why do we need to be aware of this? Because our values, the values in our children are being formed during that imprint period. We call it an imprint period because children that age are like sponges. They grab onto everything. They soak up everything. Everything you do, everything you say, they are soaking it up. So it's called an imprint period because of that. Why? What is important, during this period is attachment. Love is not attachment. Attachment is the way we develop that trust with our children. There are many ways to attach, and I'll get into that. But there must be some trust. What is the definition here? Well, is the pursuit and preservation of proximity, closeness, connection. Connection is one thing we have to think about, but not only on a physical level. Behaviorally, emotionally, and psychologically. We have to connect with our children. Bullies, spoiled brats, their parents love them. But sometimes what creates a bully is the lack of attachment or the loss of attachment. But there are 6 ways to attach. The first way is through senses. Smell, sight, sound, and touch. Chances are your child's favorite uncle is the one who spends the most time with them. This one may be kind of obvious, but sameness. The second way to attach. This child seeks to be like the one who they feel close to. They walk, they talk the same way, their gestures are the same way. But it's also dependent on who's the dominant personality. You know, the other day, my daughter was on the other side of the bed and she asked me for a book. And just casually, I took the book and I threw it. I just said, here. And then right away, I closed my eyes and I said, God, this is the thing I'm quarreling with her about. Because sometimes I will ask her thing, here. Where is she getting it from? I don't know. You know, in talking about this sameness, there's a girl from the Ukraine, Oksana Malaya. She had alcoholic parents, and her parents used to leave her outside with the dogs for extended periods of time. In fact, to spend the night with the dogs, the authorities found her when she was 7 years old. And she used to, at that age, still walk on all fours. And her senses of smell, sight, hearing, everything were elevated compared to other adults. So this is, even though this is a drastic story, it does something to send a message as to how children copy us. The third way to attach, belonging and loyalty. Have you ever noticed your child when you reach the school, that is my mommy, that is my daddy? You don't have to know what attachment is to benefit from it. Many good parents out there who can't give you a definition of what attachment is. You don't have to know exactly what it is, but children benefit from it because parents just naturally do it. At times. But life has gotten busy for many of us. Work is harder. We spend more times away from home. All of these things affect those around us. They affect the children, our children. The fourth way to attach is significance. They want to feel that they matter. They want to feel that they matter. This is one of them that sticks out in my mind all the time. You know, Roberto Cialdini wrote a book called The Laws of Influence, and there's one of those laws called consistency. What is consistency? If you tell a child that you did a great job cleaning up that room yesterday, they will be consistent with that behavior as long as they get the recognition for that. But that validation that we need, we never grow out of it. Never. They need to know that you are there to support them. The fifth way to attach is feeling. A child feeling emotional intimacy to their parent can tolerate much more physical separation and still hold the parent close. This is also a very important one. And the sixth way to attach is being known. You know me. Like Rhea was saying, you want your children to tell you all of their secrets. What happens? What has changed? And we will talk about, go into more detail on this a little later, in terms of peers. What has changed over the years? What has changed is today, children are with peers from 3 months old in the daycare. We didn't have that when we were born. We were with grandparents, aunts, uncles, till we were 5 or 6. So what has happened? Now we are with peers. But I'll go into more detail on that. The child thinks that you are getting into their world when you say, "How's your day today?" How many of us take the time to recognize people? It is not common in our society. When was the last time any of your bosses in here told you, "You did a good job yesterday"? Do you hear that? That is good. That's all. Yes, there. Yes, that's good. It's uncommon. But the greatest impact in a child's life is the person who they have the closest attachments to. Children need to see the invitation to exist in our lives. They want an invitation. They don't want to say, "No, I don't like how daddy or mommy getting on. I don't want to talk to them." You want to create an environment. An environment has a big impact on our behaviors. You know, there was an experiment with rats done years ago where they put these rats in individual cages and they put cocaine. Each rat was in an individual cage and they put cocaine in water and they put plain water. And each of the rats in these cages got addicted to the cocaine and eventually died. But there was a professor from Vancouver called Bruce Alexander. He decided, let's change the experiment. Let's change the experiment and let's create a rat park. So they created a rat park and they put a bigger cage, more rats in each cage, tunnels, wheels for them to play on. And what happened? None of those rats got addicted to the cocaine. Same rats. Well, not the one that died, but a new set. Same rats, but none of them. What changed? Only the environment. It's sort of like you coming home and seeing the dishes in the sink pile up. Do you feel like cooking? Just the environment alone will change your behavior. So I want to finish my section here with a couple of points. Loving your children is not enough. You have to connect with them. We have to show up for them. This enables them to handle situations in times when we are not there. And what we think is a behavioral problem is really a relationship problem. So it is not about what you do. It is who you are to your child.